Welcome to Crowning Around, where every woman wears a crown, whether she's 17 or 70. I'm Joan Caliendo, and this is the space where magic happens when women empower women. Each week, we'll dig into topics like ageism, stepping into your power, and everything in between. And today, we're kicking it all off with a queen in her own right. Me, Ms. New York Senior America.
Good evening and happy Veterans Day. What a wonderful day to celebrate those who have served. Tonight is going to be a very, very unique show because we have three guests this evening. One in-house, Mr. Chris Ciejka, who served in the United States Air Force. And then we're going to have two Zoom guests that are coming, one from Colorado and the other from Shelter Island. But today's conversation is going to be considered Real Talk Roundtable. And it is my privilege and honor to recognize my guests this evening because as a former history teacher, this is the stuff I love. This is the stuff I live for, praising those who have served and sacrificed and given up their time in a very, very big manner for all of us to enjoy the freedoms that we have here in the United States. So it is my pleasure to begin this program in a sense where we're going to listen, we're going to learn, and we're going to thank our veterans for their service and their contributions that continue to this day. So I'm going to call in my very, very first guest who is coming from Aurora, Colorado, and that is Miss Judy Huff. There she is. Look at Miss Judy Huff.
Yes.
What I want to start by saying before we get into some details is that each of my three guests are people that I know in very, very different fashions. So before I begin with telling you some of the things about Judy, I want you to know that she has served in the United States Air Force since 1960. And she is a very young, beautiful, and vibrant 83-year-old who I had the pleasure of meeting last year in the Miss Senior America pageant, where she represented then the state of Wyoming and this year the state of South Dakota, because she is a returned pageant woman and she is delightful and fun to be around, but her service to the United States is still ongoing. And she finished up her career as a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force when there were not many women who began in 1960. Judy definitely paved the way for, getting up in the air and flying a plane, not just to meet men, but to get on a plane. So we're going to start with Judy. Can we put up the very first picture of Judy in 1960 when she started? Look at that lady. Give a good look at that woman. And what she had ahead of her was, a very daunting task, Judy, in 1960. How many women would you say were in your brigade? What would you call it?
I was in a squadron in San Antonio, Texas, and there were 70 of us. And after 8 weeks, there were 20.
20
50 dropped out.
Okay. So can we get to the new picture of Judy in her full rig? Look at her.
Yeah.
Look at her.
And that's in the Colorado mountains.
I would say. Are you in Colorado today? I mean, you represent about 12 states. So are you in Colorado right now? Okay, good.
I am in Colorado.
Yeah. Please put up the picture of the two of us in our dance routine, if you could.
I love it, love it, love it.
There we are backstage. What you're not seeing is how we got into those costumes and how we helped each other. But more importantly, how I reminded Judy where to get on the stage, get off the stage, and not to go back to the dressing room during short breaks. So what did you refer to me as that whole week, Judy?
Well, that whole week, I was just watching the audience. I wasn't paying attention to dancing because I was just being mesmerized by the audience and seeing how much they loved us. And I was keeping time with them, and then they'd say move forward or backwards, and I wouldn't go. And Joan had to grab my head and say, "Come on!" So I nicknamed her Joan of Arc.
Yeah, Joan of Arc, even being helpful then. Now Judy did this. Look at this. This year. I went to see Judy in the pageant, and I caught her while she was disco dancing through the line there, just to tell her that I was there to support her as she represented the state of South Dakota this time. How many pageants have you been in, Judy?
I think about 9. Okay. I'm getting better.
Wow.
You're getting better. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think there's one more picture we have. This was the solo that you did last year with your little steering wheel. Do we have that one, Bobby?
Oh,
That
yes.
that was your solo performance with this. I don't know if that went through, so maybe that's
Okay.
the one that didn't go through. All right,
Okay.
so that's Miss Judy Huff. That's my first guest. So hang on, Judy. I'm now
Okay.
going to introduce you to Mr. Chris Ciejka, who's sitting next to me. Oh, people are clapping.
There you go.
Chris and I play pickleball together. Chris and I play pickleball together every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we strike up some really nice conversations in between games. But when we're on the court together, it's nothing but competition.
That's right. Yep.
And what do I say when you're not paying attention or you're not focused in?
Always give me a big hello.
Hello. Supposed to say you
Yeah.
or I got it. I say to Chris, hello. And he knows that I mean business when we're playing together.
Yep.
But Chris served also, Judy, in the United States Air Force as a master sergeant from 1980 to 2019.
Wow.
You could put up the picture, please, of Chris. Where are you here?
Oh, so proud of you.
Aw.
Thank you. I stayed like this. I started in Lackland. I went there to basic training in 1980,
Mhm.
and then I got out. My first assignment was remote in Alaska because I was a radar operator,
Oh,
and 60 below zero up there up in Alaska.
wow.
And I had a great time. I loved it, and it was a 28-man site. And for the whole year, I was a young kid from New York, cocky, and
Skinny.
yeah, skinny, yeah. Yeah, skinny.
Photos.
I was 118 pounds.
118 pounds. Come on now.
But anyhow, so the commander there was a major back then. He loved me from New York, being outgoing. He goes, "Kid, you want to fly? What do you think I joined the Air Force for? Everybody wants to fly in the Air Force,
Yeah.
Yes.
And so then I have orders to AWAC spy plane back then.
Oh,
In 1980,
Wow.
I was remote then I went to Alaska, Tinker Air Force Base. I went to school there for almost 4 years with the Air Force, the E3A Sentry, and I loved it. And I got out, and I wanted to be a pilot. Bottom line,
and
I
you
went to
achieved
starting
that.
school, and I went to Farmingdale on Long Island. And not to say anything, my parents got divorced, and then I had to get a job, bang nails to pay my car, my apartment. And next thing you know, I took some tests like the city fire department, the city police,
Mhm.
and they called me the police first. So I did that for 30 years, and I reserves.
And still in the reserves. Can you also put up the picture, Bobby? Okay. This is the pickleball crowd that I'm dealing with. So if you're not noticing, Chris, that would be him as Captain America. See that? And I wasn't sure if tonight he was going to show up in that costume, which, by the way, I would have supported. I enjoyed that costume. But that's the Monday, Wednesday, Friday crowd. And we have great games, and we have great friends that are there. And yeah, so that's how Chris and I have met. And now we get to our third person. And my third guest, Mr. James Colligan, who, wow, I don't even know where to begin with this gentleman. He is one of my dearest friends. And of course, we'll start with his military background. He is a full colonel who served in the United States Army, having served for 33 years from 1969 to 2002. He is a Bronze Star recipient, receiving that award 2 times. And if we could, let's put up some of the pictures of Jim when he served in Vietnam. Look at that strapping young man. And if you can get to the second picture, that's him. Now, Jim, where are you? What village were you at in these photos?
Yeah, that is with a small boy and we were doing MedCap missions.
Okay.
MedCap missions were being done during the Vietnamization program, trying to win the hearts and minds of the civilians. And twice a week, we'd board a helicopter early in the morning, go to a different village, bring a dentist, a doctor, a couple of corpsmen, an interpreter, and a civil affairs officer, and myself. And we did water testing. I spoke at the schools. It was, we'd probably spend about 4 or 5 hours in each village.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we learned the hard way. We used to leave medications there because we weren't there, but sometimes once a week. And we were treating people for some pretty serious kinds of injuries and infections, mostly infections with children. And the VC would, as soon as the helicopter took off, Viet Cong came in and confiscated all the medicines.
Oh.
So what we had to do is we had to fly helicopters in on a daily basis and administer the medications, early in the morning. And they got ticked off at that, so they booby-trapped our landing zones. And we took a few casualties, no dead, but several severely wounded coming off those helicopters with the medications in the morning through booby traps. So,
Wow.
but it was a very fulfilling assignment. There were many more good stories than there were bad stories during those MedCap missions. I
Well,
loved it.
let me say that Jim would come into my history classroom and I would do a unit on the Vietnam
Okay.
War, and he would come in and be the guest speaker. But he was also serving as the basketball coach at that time. And I was the cheerleading coach. So we would be on the same buses going to games. Now, I knew Jim had a military background, but I didn't know that when we didn't win the game, which was often those early years, that we were supposed to be very quiet on the bus. And that was not easy with 16-year-old girls.
Okay.
So we forged a respect and a bond of how to
We did.
behave after a loss. And I would go to his office every day before the game and say, I have a good feeling about tonight's game. Didn't work out that way, but that was our standing joke that we would always get to that. But when he would come into my class and show these real photos of him as a young man in Vietnam, it just made history come alive. And the kids never, ever forgot that unit, because there was Mr. Colligan down the hall, basketball coach, health teacher, from 1971 to 2006, you were at Carle Place High School.
Yes.
The gym
And
was named after him.
I started at Chaminade in 72 with Richie Owens, splitting a $400 salary, coaching at Chaminade for freshman basketball.
$400.
Then I moved over to Carle Place, coach freshman for 2 years. We were 25-3 during those 2 years, went to the JV level. We were 24-4. So obviously for 4 years, we had a pretty good record. Started on the varsity in the late 70s, and we went 15-5, 15-5, and 17-4. So we had some real good success early on.
Yes.
And I attribute that to some great players that I had. I really followed those kids up, and there were some great teams then, and we had great teams later on also. So
and great support in a great district and in a great community, because Jim also lived in the community. I think our last photo of Jim is is this your full colonel? Awards, medals, ribbons? Is this you at the end of your career in the military?
I have to see that photo right there, but wait for it to pop up.
Okay, it's you're looking very young and dapper. I think yeah, you look good.
It actually. Am I in dress blues or greens?
Yeah, dress blues with the greens with
dress
the ribbons
blues.
and the
I was a full colonel at that time, so that had to be after 1995. So I was obviously was about 50 years of age at that time. Yeah.
Okay, so 3 very different people, but 3 people that I respect and honor this evening. And we're going to start the Queen's Court, which is the section of the show where I ask some questions to each of you, and we adapt them based on your life experiences and how you served and where you served. So we're going to start with, I don't know, I think we're going to start with Chris, because I'm hoping that what we learn from your experiences and the skills that you acquired while serving the nation, how you kind of turnkeyed that into your job and your career and being a family man and having children. So I'm going to start with the first question, and I'm going to start with Chris. Can you share with us a personal story of empowerment or transformation as you navigated your military experience? So I guess what I'm asking you is, how did you grow as a result of serving in the military?
Okay, first started like when I first went in. I was a kid lost in high school. What I wanted to do. You go there in the basic training, and they teach you how to brush your teeth, wash, fold your clothes, do everything that you always told your parents I ain't doing. You know what I mean? And they make you do it. But it was a good sense, because everybody did it. It was a whole group affair. You had 50 people in one bay, and they all had to do the same jobs and put everything together.
Right.
So from there, then, you go to your experience. They teach you at tech school, which you learn every day. It wasn't like school. Here's you have to do it. And you appreciate doing it because you really want to do it, you know?
So you didn't love the subject matters in school and the social studies and the science and the math, but this was like hands-on,
Right.
tactile training that you were super interested in. And the goal was for you to fly, right?
The
So you
goal
knew
was-
you had to do the groundwork, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's really keeps you focused because that's my things. I wanted to fly.
All right. I love it. I love the
And then,
motivation.
I became, not to say anything, in high school, I was a bad student. And here, it put the fire under my butt and enjoyed it. I enjoyed
You
doing
found
things,
your niche. You found where you fit in.
right? So then after that, I just like, I didn't, I was great. And, when I went to remote in Alaska and then in AWACS, I was outstanding and everybody wanted to fly with me. The big colonels, generals and stuff like this said, my nickname was Cherry. So I was the only the first two-striper to fly on AWACS. And they loved me. And they said, first of all, who's this kid flying with us? And then after going to Egypt and doing during a crisis over there, they said, "You're flying with me, kid." The general said, "You're flying with me, kid. Every time I'm on my plane, you're there."
That's
It was
great.
pretty cool.
And you felt valued.
And I
you
felt
felt
valued.
and you felt valued and appreciated and you fit in. I love it. Judy, how did the military change you?
Okay, I think the military changed me because it represented freedom to me.
Okay.
Freedom to help others. And I become a friend for everybody, not just simple people, but everybody I meet, I try to help. And it was not that I needed the freedom because I was a little bit independent, a little bit stubborn. But when I was 14, I went to General Carle Spott's home, who lived in Pennsylvania with me. And he's, of course, the one that the General Carle Spott's Award is named after in Civil Air Patrol. And he also purchased the land where the Air Force Academy is right now and then gave it to him, donated it to him. And then when I was flying, I met a lot of wonderful celebrities. I met Bob Hope. I met a lot of actresses. Can't even name a bunch of them, but you had to know how to react to these people. And being a teenager, which I wasn't still time, you had to learn to know how to react to somebody who is sexy and 25 and you're in a blue uniform.
Still that way.
There you go.
They wouldn't let me get off the plane in Thule because they said it was too dangerous. I thought it was because of the snow, but being stupid and naive, I found out later on that they needed to serve me a steak dinner on the plane, not let me off because I wouldn't have survived in Thule because it was an isolated duty. Then we went to Madrid, Spain. I saw the running of the bulls. There was so many great opportunities. Went to Thule, Greenland, went to Keflavik, Iceland, where the castle is. The Azores, where it rained every time we landed there, it would rain. Prestwick, Scotland. When we got there, they didn't have hotels, so they put us up in a castle.
Nice.
And found out castles are not warm; they're cold. And then we went to Madrid. Went to France, and at that time the French didn't like us. So when we were on the bus, they told us to lay on the floor and change into our civvies because they didn't like the military. And so I was walking down the street and I had a $5 bill. And I went into this bakery shop and I said, "I want $5 worth of bread." She said, "Really?" I said, "Really?" So I came out with 3 bags of French bread and I had to get rid of them because I couldn't take them back on the plane with me, but I didn't know any better. But basically what it taught me was I have always been outgoing and I have to make a friend wherever I am. And I love people. I help people. At Christmas time, my gifts are to them rather than to me because I want to give back what the Air Force and the world has given to me. I just love people. And the other thing it's given me is the freedom of speech and the freedom to be who I am, which I am an Air Force veteran. I'm proud of it. We'll never down it. And I'm in the Veterans Parade every single year. And
You sing it, sister. Go ahead, Judy.
I did.
This is all real. These are conversations I've had with her. But there's one thing I want to ask you to comment on before I move on to Jim. What was it like to be a woman in 1960 serving in the Air Force?
Okay, I'll be honest with you.
Please do.
When I came back to Boyertown, Pennsylvania, where I was living at the time, nobody would speak to me.
Why?
Because I was a veteran and they didn't appreciate veterans, especially female veterans. And the guys I used to date didn't date me. And I spent 2 weeks there and I said, I'm not coming back.
Okay.
And they didn't come back and welcome us like they do nowadays. It was being shunned. It was not believed. It was not acceptable. And I was a little, I don't know what the name would have been. I was a traitor for going into the Air Force. And my Sunday school teacher, I went and asked her, I said, what in the world should I do? She said, what do you believe in, Judy? I said, I believe in Jesus. I believe in serving my country. I believe in God. She said, well, as long as you believe in God and do what he's telling you to do, you're okay. And I was so depressed when I came back from that leave of absence because they did not celebrate me like they do nowadays.
Well, look, tonight you have your own show.
So. I know. Oh my gosh. And I could be Dolly Parton if I buy you know what.
Yeah, I know. That's another conversation. That's a different show. Okay, Jim, this is going to be a little bit different for Jim because to go from Army ROTC in college, right? And then you were deployed to Vietnam and then to come into a classroom setting. Now, I didn't know you back in those early 70 years, but I've heard the stories about how you almost had to decompress, right? To get into the norm of being a teacher from the skills that you had acquired from, even from your college ROTC training and then actually going over to Vietnam. So how did you manage the transition?
Well, I think it starts in three places before I get to Carle Place. So Niagara University, I was there from 65 to 69. And you had no choice, freshman and sophomore year. If you didn't have a medical deferment, you were going into ROTC. So, and by the way, Joan, I did not apply to Niagara University until I was sitting on Jones Beach with my girlfriend who was going to Colby College. And she said, Jimmy, what are you going to do in September? I said, I'm going to join the Army just like my father and brother did. And I want to go to Nam. And she said, don't do that. And I went home and I thought about it. I sat down with my mother on a Sunday, late afternoon, early evening. We took out an application for Niagara. I filled it out that evening, sent it out special delivery on Monday morning, got accepted by the end of the week. And I ended up going to a place I had never visited, didn't know anybody there. But when I got up there, there were a lot of Irish Italian kids in a Catholic university. I'd never been to Catholic school.
Yeah, it's a Catholic university.
Obviously, so freshman, sophomore year, mandatory ROTC. Junior and senior year was voluntary. So going into the advanced course was something I thought about, and I'm glad I did. I met some of the best instructors that I had at Niagara University, and that goes for every course, whether it's English, social studies, science, anatomy, physiology. Military science instructors were dynamite. I think about those guys to this day. They instilled a great deal of good qualities in me as a human being, and I'm very thankful for those things. So I got commissioned, then went to a boot camp, by the way, in the summer for 6 weeks to Fort Indian Town Gap in the summer of 68. I graduated from Niagara in 69, got commissioned about an hour after graduation. Of course, I had my uniform on.
Right.
80 of us got commissioned. Then I ended up that summer working with the Port Washington Police Department. So, Chris, I share that a little bit with you just for that 3 months. I worked on the Harbor Patrol. I carried a .45 caliber weapon with me. I went out to do 12-hour shifts. I worked all summer long with the Port Washington Police Department and enjoyed it. Then I went off to Officer Basic for 10 weeks to Fort Sam Houston. I roomed with Earl Bryant. He was the tight end on the University of Kentucky football team, about 6'3", about 220, a mountain of a guy, and we became best friends. We went to Nam together. And the guys down there were great. And I happened to meet an instructor called Major Patrick Brady, who was a dust-off pilot in the Americal Division. He got the Medal of Honor, got shot down twice in the same day, evacuated 60 severely wounded soldiers, took them over 8.5 hours, had been injured, and was awarded the Medal of Honor. Major Patrick Brady was somebody I looked up to. I still read his book. I admire him to this day. And when I got to Vietnam, I flew with that same outfit during my half day off per week. And then when I got to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, which is the final place, that was the practical exercise. That was putting to practice everything you had learned. I became the detachment commander. I was in charge of over 300 men and women. I was just turned 22 years of age. Had a first sergeant, was an active member of the Ku Klux Klan. And going through the barracks the first time, I went through the barracks. The barracks were totally segregated. The workplace was totally segregated. I was my guy that worked directly underneath me happened to be a graduate of NYU, Spec 4 Lubin. And he said, "Sir, what are you going to do about this?" And I said, "We're going to integrate the barracks." My first sergeant nearly had a heart attack when he heard that, because here we are in North Carolina. We got the second lieutenant coming down from New York. He was the one that 8 months later handed me my orders to Vietnam. And I'll end by saying this. I said, "First Sergeant, do you have anything to do with getting these orders it's in an envelope, so I don't know what they are." And he says, "No, sir." So I opened up the thing and I said, "I have, in 4 weeks, I'm going to be in the Republic of Vietnam. I don't know where, but I'm going to Nam. I'm supposed to be married in 6 weeks. So I got to go home and tell my fiance that the wedding is off because I'm going to be 13,000 miles away." And I looked at him and I said, "You sure you didn't have?" He said, "No, sir." I said, "Bullshit." I hate to use the language, but
That's okay.
And the guy I worked for, by the way, was a guy from Atlanta, captain. And every time he saw me during the first few weeks that I was down at Bragg, he said, "Hey boy, come here. Hey boy, come here." And I was second lieutenant. He was a captain. So I kind of put up with it for a while, and I went over to Command Sergeant Major. Chris, you'll appreciate this. I said to Command Sergeant Major, I'm really not going to respond to this boy stuff much longer. He said, "Lieutenant, do what you have to do." So next time he called me in the office, he said, he had his feet up on the table with his boots, and he called me boy. I went around the desk. I looked him square in the eye and I said, "Listen, Captain, respectfully, you call me boy one more time, I'm going to get you out of that chair and I'm going to beat the crap out of you. What do you think about that? Don't say it to me one more time." And that was the end of that. So kind of learned to, and sometimes in the military, by the way, we're not talking about good times in the United States Army. We're talking about times in the Army where racial unrest, drugs, the end of the Vietnam War was coming, and I'm going there, and morale was probably not so good. So it was preparing me for the worst.
Right. Okay. So that brings us to our second question. And I'm going to take each of your individual lifestyles and ask you to comment on when you began to serve in the NYPD, did your military training assist you in your ability to deal with people in the New York area and maybe, hear me out, diffuse situations so that they didn't escalate into real problems? Because that's a whole different set of training. Now you're walking the streets, right? And
Right.
were you in Brooklyn, Queens? Where were you?
I first started out in Harlem, in 1986.
Okay.
And like the military teaches you, like, you got to be solid. You got to be, when you do something and give some directives to people,
Right.
you got to stand by them. And you do. You stand up for your, I'm going to tell you this, and this is the reason why.
Right.
And you be assertive, but you got to talk to people too.
Right. And this is not the enemy. These are your fellow New Yorkers,
New
right?
Yorkers.
So you have to.
So, and we all grew up in New York families. We had good and bad in our families.
Of course.
And so, when you go to people's houses, out of respect, you go in there, "Ma'am, can I see this? Man, can I see this, sir?" You treat them with respect first of all.
Starting.
That's the main thing.
Right.
Then they give you respect.
Right.
Like, you don't call a guy boy like this, like you said. That's not respect. That's just that's being an ass, really.
Right. So you took that from the military training as well. So now you're in Harlem, New York City in the 1980s. Right. Rough. Not the greatest time period in New York City. Pre-Giuliani.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, pre-Giuliani. So really not good.
I was
no
just
bueno.
Endicott, and I was Dinkins era.
Okay, gotcha. So, we're New Yorkers, Judy. We understand what he's saying here about the legislators. So I guess my last question for you to make an analogy, a correlation is, not saying that the military is training you to be overly aware of the people that are trying to hurt the United States, and what are you going to do about that? So now you're on the streets of New York, and you're a New Yorker. What did you have to learn how to do different?
Well, the bottom line is now you're home in your home state,
Right.
and you talk to people, and 90% of the battle of anything is talking to people.
Right.
Because if you treat them like you want to be treated,
Right.
90% of the stuff goes away.
Diffused.
And diffused, and people love you. And the thing is, you come up being like you're the king, the only one, or
Right.
the man, they say.
Right.
Then you right then and there you put a wall up, and you don't want to do that
Right.
with people. You always want to just, hey, listen, you have to come back and barter. Let's talk.
And when you retired, it was time, right?
Yeah. When there's a situation, like, not to say anything, in New York, when our legislators, not to say
I love the words you're using,
say that there's no cash bail, and you rob someone, you lock them up for a robbery or a rape, but and they're let out before I even done with the paperwork.
right? So the rules were changing, right? And it hampered your ability to do your job.
It was time to go.
It was time to go, and here we are together, retirees,
Yes,
playing pickleball.
I'm loving it.
Continuing to diffuse bad situations when a shot has gone awry.
Yeah.
We do our best.
Yes, we do.
We do. Now, Judy,
Yeah.
your career is so storied and so wonderful, and you've traveled the world. How did you get into pageants from that?
Well, be honest with you, I was a manager. I just recently retired, but I was a manager of Dillard's department store for 26 years.
Wow.
And I was in charge of 19 stores. And I had to train men, not women, but men in the men's suit department.
Okay.
And so I had to know how to relate to all men, because every gentleman is different, whether they accept somebody that's a female training them or whether it's a male training them. And so anyway, long story short, Renee Green comes to me and she says, you got to get into the pageant. I said, you got to be crazy. So she said, what kind of talent do you do? I said, I love to dance. And so my first costume was Batman and Robin. And Batman and Robin.
In one costume?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
So I went to Goodwill and I got this dummy. He was a purple dummy and he was the Joker, and he was with me, and all of a sudden his neck broke and he kept on punching me in the boobs, and I kept on saying, behave. And it became a comedy act rather than a dance act. And I came in second. How? I don't know. And I thought, this is wonderful. I was with 22 and I came in second. How in the world? And the Joker even won. my dummy won. But with the pageant, with the way it affected me and other people, I learned that, or I put this into force, that you have to accept everybody at their value and what they can do, and not try to change them. And I don't try to change people. I try to love everybody. And I may not be the best at directions, because you found that, but I do love everybody.
That's an understatement.
She held my hand and took me back and forth. But anyway, the Joker and I won. And from there, I went into the Cameo Club, which is part of the pageants. And I was able to help these different women feel good about themselves and get out of the rocking chair. Get out of the
Yes, there it
and
is.
stand up and walk and be beautiful
And be
again.
vibrant and be beautiful. Let me tell you, the costumes that Judy would come out in were exceptional. Lots of fringe, cowboy hats, boots, the whole bit.
Yeah.
But, she never lost her verve for this whole spirited thing. And I never did pageants. And when I met Judy, who was a veteran of pageants, you know what she taught me? She taught me, have a good time, get to know people, create a sisterhood, and learn from each other. And that's what, even in our dressing room, we bonded in that manner. And
everybody had the steering wheel. I took pictures of everybody with the steering wheel.
Yes, that was part of our routine. But Judy and I, we go way back 2 years ago. So that's how Judy transitioned from the military to pageants. And now, Jim, this is the question for you. So, teacher, mentor, coach, advisor, union official. totally different environment. How did you decompress to be successful in all of those roles as an administrator at Carle Place High School from being someone, so actively involved in the military in a strange land, in a foreign country? By the way, Jim came back from his service and got married within 6 weeks of return.
28 days.
28 days, a married man. And then you started your job, right? At Carle Place.
Started the job. I was actually given the job on a Friday afternoon. I got married Saturday morning. The assistant superintendent, Joe Bocci, Mr. Bocci said to me, Jim, we did not fire a 26-year-old single male to hire a 23-year-old single male. So therefore, you will get the job if you show up at the church tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. If you don't, we are going with our second candidate. So the ball's in your court. That's what he said to me.
That's pressure. Well,
That
now
is.
I know how you handled pressure on the basketball court, because that was I just have to tell one funny story about Jim Colligan. So when I first started at Carle Place in 1989, I didn't really know him. And I had heard, the legendary status of Jim Colligan and Neil Connolly and Richie Owens, the Mount Rushmore and Chick-fil-A of Carle Place. And, I was just trying to make sure I kept my job. And all of a sudden, Desert Storm happened, right? So that was 1990. And all of a sudden, because Jim was in the reserves, they're saying, Mr. Colligan has to go to Iraq. And, at that time, we didn't know what that meant, Saddam Hussein and all of that. So all of a sudden, everybody's praying for Mr. Colligan at church. And we're having all of the basketball team come and sign a white basketball to make sure that he's okay when he goes to Iraq. And big jars of peanut butter. People were donating huge jars of peanut butter to make sure that he was well nourished on his journey to Iraq. And where did you go, Jim?
Texas.
Texas.
I went to Fort Sam Houston, Texas. And the reason
More
was
than 100 hours, right?
I was a lieutenant colonel. By the way, I got activated on Super Bowl Sunday. At 3 o'clock, I walked in the house and Tricia Colligan said to me, Dad, I think you've just been activated. I got on the phone, called the Army. Yes, I'm leaving Wednesday morning at 0500 hours from Fort Tot, Long Island, and I'm going to the air base in New Jersey, to McGuire Air Force Base, Fort Dix, and from there I'm going to Iraq. Margaret and I had no plans, all the legal stuff that has to be done.
Right.
But to make a long story short, I did coach that game on Tuesday night at Oyster Bay. And when the Carle Place team was introduced, my son JP, who was 10 years of age at the time, they said, well, Colonel Colligan is leaving for Iraq Wednesday. He leaves behind a wife and 3 children. And my son looked up at me and said, Dad, they got you dead and buried already? I said, no, I don't think so. But there's a funny story for another day of what happened to me in Texas.
No, I know.
Thank God they were praying for me.
Yeah, we were praying for you while you were sitting poolside. We were really worried. Okay, and it's at this time that I have to take a little commercial break. So everybody bear with me. We'll be right back after these messages.
Imagine turning an ordinary gathering into an electrifying night at a Las Vegas casino. With Ace Authentic Casino and Entertainment, we bring the thrill of blackjack, roulette, poker, and more right to your door. For over 20 years, we've been transforming parties in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut into unforgettable events. Ready to elevate your next event? Experience the joy today with Ace Casino Parties. Visit us at acecasino.ny.com.
Ever felt stuck with a home that just doesn't feel right anymore? Whether it's that outdated kitchen or the bathroom that needs a refreshed look, Twice as Nice Construction has got you covered. Family owned for over 20 years. Twice as Nice Construction has been providing beautiful new construction and additions and stunning remodels like kitchens and bathrooms. We're not just experts. We offer unbeatable quality and prices to help make your dream come true. Ready to start building your dream home or to give your kitchen and bathroom that much needed makeover? Contact Twice as Nice today and make your dream a reality. Visit twiceasniceremodel.com today for quality you can see and service you can trust. Twice the value, twice the commitment, twice as nice.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our Veterans Day show. I'm here with my dear friend, Chris Ciejka, who is a U.S. Air Force veteran. And via Zoom, I welcome once again Lieutenant Colonel Judy Huff and Colonel James Colligan. So welcome back. And this is really the tail end of the show. I know it went very, very quickly, but we're almost at the very end of our show. So I like to call this portion of the show the crowning moment. And you only have a few minutes to explain this. So I thought I'd take a shift away from the military and our jobs and the pressures and all of the things that we've accomplished. And I'm going to ask you, other than the service to your country, what has been your greatest success? So Chris, we're going to start with you.
I guess my greatest success is I'm being retired right now. Hey, I worked so hard, 40 years.
Yes.
And now I'm doing what I want to do. Play pickleball. I got my kids, even though they're always working.
Mm-hmm.
And now I want to get an RV. I want to travel.
Right. And perhaps move down to Florida. We've talked about down south, the Carolinas, something like that. So we had this conversation in the car driving over. We worked hard. We have our pensions. We played by the rules. We own our homes. We raised our children. We did the right thing, and now it's time to relax and enjoy the fruits of our labor. So I hear you, and I commend you.
Thank you.
All right, Judy, crowning moment. What has been your greatest success outside of the service to our country?
I had a birthday party last year because I didn't know if I'd make it to 83 or not. And I had 450 people.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Nice.
And these were not strangers. These were all people that I've helped over the years.
I believe
and I had them for the past 40 years, and they all came and they gave me gifts. They wrote on T-shirts. And I had one young man that's now in the Navy, and he pretended to be my son and escorted me everywhere. And the cakes were made into high heels. All the cakes were high heel cupcakes. And
that's wonderful, Judy. It
was great.
Full circle. That's full circle because you deserve that. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Jim. Greatest achievement outside of the service?
I would have to say relationships. I would say that married the girl of my dreams. Been married 54 years.
Wonderful.
Says a lot for Margaret's put up with a lot for my life.
This is true.
Gave up with 3 beautiful children, Megan, Tricia, and James Patrick. Blessed with 5 grandchildren. Left Carle Place, which was the still my home. I grew up in Westbury, but Carle Place, the people of Carle Place, my colleagues, former students, former athletes, my neighbors, the best people on the planet by far.
Agree.
And then moved out to Shelter Island, where it was Carle Place too. And I've been out here 18 years now. Became president of the association down here for 18 years. And then went over, ran for government, got elected twice, served 8 years on the town board. Enjoyed that relationship. And I'll end on this one little thing that gives me a lot of satisfaction. We had a young lieutenant that was killed here from Vietnam, from Afghanistan, Joseph Thiner. He's a first lieutenant. I went to pick up his body in 2010, in June of 2010, over on the South Fork. And we came back, and as we proceeded through all the South Fork towns, thousands of people stopped on Sunrise Highway, got out, electricians, plumbers, painters, came to attention, saluted, put their hands over their heart. As we drove through Sag Harbor, the children lining the street, crying as the hearse went by. And I was in the car right behind the hearse. That night I stood guard over Joe's body from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. at the Catholic Church. And I've had the privilege of going down to New Mexico to the Thynett Ranch and working with a lot of Iraqi and Afghan veterans. Obviously, they're kids to me, but they're all in their 40s and 50s, maybe late 30s, 40s, and 50s, and a lot of them with multiple tours I will say, Joan, thank God I only had one tour in Nam, because one tour was plenty for me.
Sure.
And it changed my life, not always for the best. It took me a while to get over it, but I'm trying to help as much as I possibly can now to help these guys get back on course. And that's a commitment that I made this morning when I get to the Legion Hall for Veterans Day, and I will make that to the day I die.
I believe you, and we appreciate you, Jim. We always have, because that is the man that you are, and that's why I'm proud to call you my friend.
And I'm proud to have you as a friend, Joan, always.
Thank you. So here's where we close off the show.
Okay.
It's called My Royal Invitation, which is to invite listeners to come back, not next week, but in the week following, which happens to be the Thanksgiving edition. So today's Veterans Day. Next edition will be the people that I am grateful for and the people that I know who are the epitome of class and perfection. But before we get to introduce who's coming on the show in 2 weeks, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that my father-in-law is a veteran. There he is, Mr. Joan Caliendo, who served in the United States Navy, the division we didn't talk about, in the early 1950s. He was 17 years old in that picture, and he turned 18 the next day.
Wow.
I asked him what was his greatest accomplishment in the Navy, and he said he was on the boxing team. And I'm proud to tell you that he was recognized at the Long Island Ducks baseball game as a veteran, and the whole stadium stood and applauded him. And it was a very magical moment for a man who is very quiet about his service. I would be remiss if I didn't thank him for his years in the service. There he is.
Yeah.
So my closing is to tell you that the Thanksgiving edition, I will be welcoming a fellow cameo sister, and that is Miss Kay Hill. Kay Hill is a former Miss New York. She won in 2005. She is a native of the Bronx, but she also lived in Philadelphia for a while. And she honed her vocal skills through many performances, both in Harlem and in Philadelphia. She worked as a page at NBC, and she had a 30-year career at the New York Times. And she is the proud mother of 3 and a grandmother, and she was married to the love of her life for 55 years.
Awesome.
When I joined the pageant and I got to meet Kay, I said, that is a woman who is the epitome of class perfection, and a peer of yours, Judy, because she too is an 83-year-old vibrant spirit. And I like ladies like that to be role models for me. And I like the vibe that you create with humor and positivity and giving back. So I hope that tonight we honored our veterans. I hope you all thanked people along the way today that served this amazing country. I am going to ask you guys to vote for my podcast once again. We all know about the power of voting. The voting continues until December the 15th. And please cast your vote for Crowning Around, which we're trying. This is our 9th episode to do some good quality work. And I want to say that I put a post up on Facebook that I like to live by every Veterans Day, which is, we don't know them all, but we owe them all.
So
and
true.
That's the message tonight that I would like to resonate and close with. So thank you. This worked. We had 2 Zooms and a live person, and it worked. And I'm so proud of all of you. And thank you.
I found 2 more brothers.
Yes, you did, Judy.
Go.
Yes, you did, Judy. Your spirit is so enlightening. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I will see all of you soon, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
As veterans, we thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.